They convicted Marcus Webb of murder in 1994. Then, in 2018, a demolition crew found a spiral-bound ledger sealed inside a wall, the missing overnight log from a gas station 3 miles from the crime scene. Webb's alibi. So why did that ledger sit behind drywall for 24 years instead of a police evidence locker? Diane Kowalski was found dead in her Lansing home on the night of October 9, 1993. Single stab wound, no forced entry, no murder weapon recovered. Police looked at her neighbor, Marcus Webb, a 26-year-old warehouse worker with a prior assault charge from a bar fight 4 years earlier. Webb told detectives he'd been at the Amoco station on Route 27 buying cigarettes around midnight. No receipt. The clerk on duty, a man named Ronald Spear, gave a statement that didn't fully confirm the time. The jury took 6 hours. Webb got life without parole. The case was closed, filed, and forgotten by everyone except his mother, who wrote to 3 law firms a year for 2 decades. In March of 2018, the old Amoco building came down to make way for a strip mall. A demolition worker pulling insulation out of the office wall found a mildewed ledger wedged behind a stud, wrapped in a plastic bread bag like someone meant to protect it, not hide it. It was the station's manual customer log, the kind clerks kept back then because the register's security camera had been broken since August of '93, and the insurance company required a paper trail for overnight cash transactions. Every walk-in got a line, time, item, initials. On the page dated October 9th, one entry read 11:47 p.m. cigarettes, $2.10, initialed MW, the same initials on Marcus Webb's driver's license. Here's where it stops being a curiosity and starts being a problem. The medical examiner's report, entered as evidence in Webb's trial, placed Diane Kowalski's time of death between 11:30 p.m. and 12:15 a.m., a window built from body temperature and lividity. Webb's alibi window was 11:47. The gas station sat a 9-minute drive from Kowalski's front door, according to the state's own accident reconstruction unit, which had measured that same stretch of Route 27 for an unrelated case in 1996. 9 minutes each way, 15 minutes inside the store, based on Spear's normal closing routine. The math doesn't allow for a stabbing in between. At trial, an officer testified the station's camera showed nothing usable. Nobody mentioned a paper log existed at all. Why did nobody mention it? Because nobody asked. Discovery in Webb's case covered the station's video system, the broken camera, and stopped there. Spear's paper ledger was never part of any police report. It lived in a filing cabinet in the manager's office until a 1994 renovation, when a contractor apparently found it in the way and sealed it inside the new insulation rather than throw it out. Ronald Spear left town that same year and died in 2003 without ever being recontacted by police, prosecutors, or Webb's own trial attorney, who, records later showed, never subpoenaed the station's business records at all. Not concealment in the dramatic sense, just a door nobody bothered to open. But the ledger wasn't the strangest part. 3 lines below Webb's entry at 12:04 a.m., another name was logged. RD, hand pressed hard enough to tear the page slightly, then partially scratched out with the same pen. Spear's shift notes, recovered with the ledger, listed only one other overnight regular with those initials: Randall Dietz, Kowalski's ex-boyfriend, a man briefly mentioned in the original police file and never called to testify. Dietz had told the original detectives he was home asleep that night. The scratched-out entry doesn't prove he lied. It proves someone, at some point, wanted that line harder to read. The Innocence Project reopened Webb's case in 2019 after his mother's letters finally reached the right desk. A judge vacated the conviction in 2021, citing the undisclosed alibi record and the failure to investigate Dietz as a prosecutorial and defense counsel failure. Webb walked out after 27 years. He was never formally exonerated of anything because the state declined to retry him rather than declare him innocent, a legal shrug that leaves the case technically unsolved. Dietz was interviewed once in 2021. He denied being at the station. The scratched initials were never forensically tested for a second layer of ink beneath the strike-through, so the ledger answers one question and opens another. It tells you where Marcus Webb was at 11:47 on October 9, 1993. It doesn't tell you who scratched out a name 8 minutes later, or why. The wall that hid Webb's alibi for 24 years also hid whatever that second entry was protecting, and that page still sits in an evidence box in Lansing, unread by anyone with the authority to reopen a case the system already called closed.